First off, you got Seattle plus 3.5 versus San Francisco.
All right. What does anything? I'm putting you on the spot here, and so I apologize. So because you might not remember, but if I were to say to you, what was the single worst game of Brock Purdy's career? The hint I would give you is it ended his MVP candidacy last year. It was a huge game. It was, oh, this is a tough one, though, because you might not have seen it because it was on Christmas Day. So it was on Christmas Day and you were with your people in Los Angeles. So I'll just say it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was. Do you have a guess or do you have any recollection?
No, I mean, my guess would be it was against Seattle, but
No,
who was it against?
so it wasn't against Seattle. It was against Baltimore. But
Oh, yeah.
Baltimore's head coach, or Baltimore's defensive coordinator, is now Seattle's head coach. Mike McDonald put Brock Purdy in the blender to the tune of 4 interceptions, a 42 passer rating, ended his MVP candidacy. So we're in a spot tonight where Seattle's at home. They're getting more than a field goal. Seattle feels sick about what happened last week. Now, so does San Francisco. San Francisco still doesn't have Christian McCaffrey. And whether Purdy would admit it or not, a little anxious about how he's played lately, particularly in second halves. Now, San Francisco historically over the last couple years has dominated Seattle, including in a playoff game, but that's one of the reasons I think Seattle moved off Pete Carroll, was they needed a defense that could deal with Shanahan's offense. Geno 9-4 against the spread in night games, and the Niners have not covered their last 6 games against the spread, against teams above 500. I think Seattle absolutely can win this game outright. And even if they don't, if the Niners get a late lead, I do not think Kyle is going to risk, putting the ball in danger because of how they lost last week. I think they're going to get super conservative and just try to get out of there with a win. So Seattle plus 3.5. And I think Geno and these receivers against that Niners pass defense can cook. DK, JSN, Tyler Lockett. So I like Seattle getting 3.5 in this spot. Home, divisional game, short week. Seattle plus 3.5. Next.
Cash it. Washington plus 6.5 at Baltimore.
Yeah, so to me, this is purely the season has been these big favorites aren't covering, and I don't trust Baltimore's pass defense. And I think this is a game that I think Baltimore leads by 4 to 10 points throughout, but that Washington's always hovering around a cover, and the backdoor cover is going to be there for them. Also, Lamar and the Ravens don't cover big spreads. Last 3 years, 7-18 against the spread when favored by more than 3. And now everybody, I think, at this point knows the Lamar's career against the NFC. He's 21-1 against the NFC straight up, but he's 11-11 against the spread. And so I think that was, I like fading teams coming off overtime. Washington blew out their opponent last week, so they could take it easy in the fourth quarter. Baltimore needed a fourth quarter comeback and then overtime. Super emotional, important victory. So again, this is not saying Washington is beating the Ravens. I don't think they're going to beat the Ravens. It is saying this feels to me like a 31-27 type of football game. Of course, I would love to get 7, and I'll risk losing the half point in that it goes down to 6. I won't actually bet this until Sunday morning with the hope that I can get the full 7, but the pick right now will get locked at Washington plus 6.5. Big favorites, not covering, high octane game. I like Washington. Your thoughts on that, DeMonte, before we move on, because I know you like both these teams, and I know the Ravens are your squad.
Yeah, I mean, and that with that spread, I'm definitely not taking Baltimore minus the points. If I were to go either way, it'd be with the Commanders. Both high flying or fast paced offenses. Yeah, I definitely take the dog there.
Okay,
all
right, next.
Next, you've got Cleveland plus 9.5 at Philly.
All right, so Cleveland got blown out last week, and Philly's coming off a bye. Philly coming off a bye, I don't know if it's as good as people think, and Cleveland getting blown out last week is actually good historically for teams covering. Teams that get blown out and then are big dogs the next week typically cover those spreads. I also think Philly is benefiting from the fact that we didn't see them play recently. So Philly, we saw them blow a game against Atlanta in unspeakable fashion. We then saw them almost lose but escape with a win against New Orleans. And at the time, people were like, oh, well, that's a good win. New Orleans is good. No, they're not. New Orleans is who I told you guys they were. And then we saw them get a rematch of the team that put them out of the playoffs last year in Tampa Bay and get absolutely whacked. But they had a bye week, so I think people are forgetting how down everyone was on Philadelphia.
Arizona plus 5.5 at Green Bay.
Yeah, so this is another one where I don't think the gap between these teams is as big as Vegas does. Like, Green Bay, coaching masterclass for them to get those wins over the Colts and the Titans with Malik Willis. But I thought they looked bad for stretches in that Vikings game before the Furious comeback. And I did not think they looked great against a totally beat down Rams team. And so now you're playing a Cardinals team that offensively is starting to figure some things out in the running game. And I'm getting 5.5 points. This certainly feels like this could be 24-20 Green Bay. Could be like last week, 24-23 Arizona. And Kyler, in his career as a dog, 27-16 against the spread, and as a road dog of more than 4, 11-3-2 against the spread. And so I think Arizona right now is a touch undervalued, and I think Green Bay right now is a touch overvalued. I think the line here should be Green Bay -3. I think that is a fair line given how both these teams are playing. I'm getting 5.5, so I'll take Arizona plus 5.5. And don't be shocked if Arizona wins this game outright and all of a sudden one of the narratives coming out of week 6 is, is Kyler Murray fully back? And by full, like Kyler Murray a couple years ago, pre-contract, when they started like 9-0, is that version of Kyler Murray back? And I'm not saying it's panic time, DeMonte, about Jordan Love, but Jordan Love's got to put a full game together. He's got to put a full good game together. He's yet to do that, and he did in that Rams game. They were able to get away with it. But DeMonte, he went full Will Levis. You never go full Will Levis. You just can't do it. That
was an impressive pick.
I mean, it was really a remarkable pick. All right, last one.
So you got Carolina plus 6.5 versus Atlanta.
Yeah, I understand Carolina's brutal. You are?
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, Carolina might be the worst team in the league. And their losses this year have all been blowouts. They lost to the Saints by 37, the Chargers by 23, the Bengals by 10, the Bears by 26. Okay? So I understand that part of it. And they also, they do have one win, obviously, over the Raiders. Here is why I like Carolina here. I think there is going to be an element of Atlanta a little high on its own supply, a little foot off the gas element to them, in that they stole that win, they escaped with that win against the Saints. They then escaped with a win against Tampa in overtime after they had seemingly lost the game twice. That game was back on Thursday. So you get the mini bye. You're feeling good. Kirk, throws for 500. You have maybe the worst team in the league coming up. Do I think they're going to be 100% fully locked? Do I think that there's a chance they have a little look ahead to Seattle, Tampa, Dallas as their next stretch of games? And do I think this could be a game, DeMonze, where Carolina, you see on Red Zone, you're like, oh, Scott Hansen pops on. And it's like, and the Panthers are up 10-0. And the rest of the game is Atlanta clawing its way back in to ultimately win. I do feel that way. And so, I don't think Carolina's going to win. But I think this could be a 20-17 Atlanta win where Carolina, is a little more focused, a little more desperate team early, and then Atlanta slowly chips away. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show, and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.